You open a blank document, and a blinking cursor waits for your command. For 5,000 years, human writing required dragging raw thought through the narrow bottleneck of language. Now, an algorithm predicts your next sentence before the neural firing in your motor cortex reaches your fingertips. You outsource your initial drafts, awkward emails, and coding problems to large language models. The machine provides perfectly structured words. Did you save 2 hours of work, or did you surrender the cognitive friction required to form an original belief?
However, Silicon Valley executives market these neural networks as mere bicycles for the mind. Tech blogs promise you a tenfold increase in daily productivity. Millions of users treat ChatGPT like a hyper-competent intern delegating tedious summarization and boilerplate generation. Educational institutions initially banned the technology, then rapidly pivoted to teaching prompt engineering as an essential career skill. You type a query, the model retrieves patterns from terabytes of scraped human knowledge and spits out a synthesized response. The prevailing narrative frames artificial intelligence as a passive tool, an obedient calculator processing language instead of numbers.
Except, a calculator does not rewrite the biological structure of your thoughts. Neuroplasticity ensures that the tools you use actively rewire the synaptic pathways in your prefrontal cortex. When you constantly rely on an external system to generate structure, the biological mechanisms responsible for organizing abstract concepts begin to atrophy. Writers report a phenomenon where their inner monologue goes silent when staring at a screen, waiting for the algorithmic prompt. Cognitive offloading transfers the heavy lifting of synthesis to a server farm in Virginia. You stop synthesizing disparate ideas because the machine does the synthesis for you.
Yet the architectural design of large language models fundamentally alters the trajectory of human reasoning. These models operate on probabilistic token prediction, prioritizing statistical likelihood over rigorous logic. When you collaborate with an AI, you absorb its bias toward the median, the mathematically predictable continuation of a thought. Researchers at Stanford discovered that humans using AI assistants produce writing that is more uniform, less structurally diverse, and stripped of idiosyncratic syntax. You inject a chaotic human premise into the prompt box, and the system flattens it into corporate consensus. Creativity requires traversing unexpected neural pathways, stumbling into errors that spark innovation. The algorithm
But the algorithm is not just flattening your output, it is actively training you to communicate in prompt speak. To extract optimal results from Gemini or Claude, you unconsciously modify your vocabulary, removing ambiguity and emotional nuance. You structure your requests in rigid bullet points, mimicking the machine's preferred input format. The interface conditions the user through immediate dopamine rewards. A clear prompt yields a perfect paragraph, while a messy thought yields generic slop. You are no longer programming the machine. The machine is actively training your brain to think in machine-readable syntax.
Still, the true cognitive cost hides within the illusion of comprehension. The fluency heuristic dictates that humans confuse reading a well-written explanation with actually understanding the underlying concept. When an AI generates a flawless synthesis of quantum mechanics or historical geopolitics in 3 seconds, your brain registers the slick presentation as personal mastery. You possess the answer without enduring the struggle of learning. Knowledge without the friction of acquisition creates a brittle intellect. Psychologists categorize this as the illusion of explanatory depth. You believe you grasp complex systems simply because you hold a device capable of explaining them.
Nevertheless, this cognitive outsourcing represents an evolutionary tipping point for the human species. Every time you accept the auto-completed sentence, you surrender a micro-decision about your identity. Language shapes reality, defining the boundaries of what a society can conceptualize. If a handful of tech monopolies control the probabilistic weights of the models generating our daily text, they invisibly steer the collective consciousness. You are participating in a mass psychological experiment where the boundaries between human intuition and algorithmic prediction blur permanently. We are building a future where original thought becomes a strenuous, deliberate act of rebellion.
However, the integration is already complete. You cannot unsee the convenience of the outsourced mind. Tomorrow, you will face a complex problem, and the magnetic pull of the prompt box will override your desire to struggle in silence. The algorithm stands ready to consume your uncertainty and generate a hallucination of competence. We built artificial intelligence to shoulder the burden of human thinking. We designed the perfect oracle only to realize the answers cost us the ability to ask.